What is going on YouTube? In today's video, we're going to be doing something super exciting that I've been looking forward to doing since the beginning of my home studio build. Now, we moved in here in March of last year, and since then, I've pretty much been putting together my home studio space bit by bit. So room by room, area by area, and kind of setting it up so it's well optimized for content creation and pretty much everything else I do. So I do a bunch of different things, but we're not getting into that because we're here to build. This one right here is going to be my main workspace setup. I don't know if you guys are as ready as I am to see this thing come to life and this whole space transform. And I hope you guys learn some things or take some ideas from this that you can use in your own home setups or workspace setups. My first step in transforming the space was to add a bit of character to an otherwise plain and boring wall. I took a little inspiration from my old setup and decided to go with a slat wall design all over again. Back then though, pre-made panels weren't as common as they are now, so I had to take a more hands-on approach that was very time consuming. That process involved staining each slat twice before carefully mounting them onto the wall one after another. For my new setup, I wanted to work smarter, not harder, so I went with pre-made panels this time around. The panels came in a fixed length and width, so I had to trim them down to fit the wall space that I was working with. Next, I grabbed my circular saw, set up my workbench outside, and got Hannah to help with measuring the height of the first opening. Once you had those numbers, we marked the panel, drew the cut line, and got around to slicing. After the first cut, I hit the area with an air duster to clear up the dust and debris before bringing it back into the house. Mounting it was pretty straightforward. It was just a matter of lining it up using a level and then securing it to the wall using black drywall screws. The one thing you'll want to double check here is that the panel is level before you even drill anything into the wall. The rest of the wall followed the same process pretty much, with slight variations depending on how much of each panel needed to be trimmed off. The only minor hiccup we encountered was cutting around two closely situated wall receptacles in the bottom left corner of the wall. Aside from that, everything went smoothly, and compared to the last time that we built a feature wall like this, the whole process was way faster and much easier. The final results turned out fantastic, especially with how beautifully the accent wall ties in with the 6-inch black baseboards below. They also came with built-in sound dampening features, which is a huge win for a workspace like mine where audio quality really matters. Each panel has a thick felt base that the slats are mounted onto, which made installation way quicker and much cleaner. Now, while I loved the natural walnut tones from my last build, I wanted something a little softer and more modern this time around. So I went with a pastel style color. I still wanted to keep those grounded earthy vibes though, which is why I landed on this beautiful moss green color. It feels calm, it's intentional, and adds just the right amount of contrast against the rest of the space. I also think it complements the color of the office drapes perfectly. Next, I decided to build a low profile wall mounted shelf that I picked up earlier. First, I laid out all of the parts that it came with and then began assembling each piece one at a time, according to how the setup guide said to do it. I've built a lot of IKEA furniture in the past, and that's exactly what this reminded me of. It came in 3 modular parts that had to be connected in order to build out the main wall unit. I didn't plan on having any drawers on my desk this time around, so having some sort of storage close by was very important to me. I started by putting together the lower cabinet, which is a modular piece designed to pair with the shelf for storage. It was mostly easy to build, with the doors being the most challenging parts to install. For some reason, I had a bit of a struggle trying to get them on. Next up were the wall shelves. I started by laying out all of the pieces to get a clear view of what needed to be assembled. From there, I attached the back supports using the screws that came in the box, then repeated the same process with the second shelf. With both units built now, it was time to get them up on the wall. According to the installation guide, the first step was to locate all the mounting points using the alignment sheets that came with the shelves. That part was pretty straightforward, and before long, we had both shelves and the cabinet all securely mounted in place. Okay, so we're now done with putting up the accent wall, as you can see behind me, and we've also got the wall shelf up there. Now all that's left is to build the desk setup. Now this is my favorite part, and if you know me, I'm going to really have some fun putting this thing together. So I'm going to be using a few things from my old setup, but I will be changing out a lot of different things and optimizing the entire setup for my use case, which is mostly video editing and just generally multitasking. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think about the build at the end of it. To kick off my new workspace setup build, I brought in my old Secret Lab Magnus Pro XL, which is the same desk that I had in my previous setup. Now, I've had it for a little over a year and it's held up pretty well in all of that time. The built-in cable management, I've got to say, is still my favorite feature about it. I started by removing the cover for the large cable tray that's built right into the back side of the desk. That gave me easy access to it as I started building out everything on the desk and planning where each item would go. Next thing to do was install the monitor arms. Now, I started with the heavy-duty arm for the main display, which is also from Secret Lab and designed specifically to pair with the Magnus Pro for a quick and an easy installation process. Since I already had it assembled from my last setup, all I had to do was secure the base to the desk and then drop the fully built arm right into place. Next, I brought in my 49-inch Samsung Odyssey OLED G9. All I had to do was attach the backplate for the arm to the monitor's bezel holes before mounting that in place. Thankfully, OLEDs are usually a lot lighter than other monitor types, which made it much easier to mount single-handedly. Next, I brought in another Secret Lab arm for my second monitor. This time, I went with the non-heavy-duty model, hoping that it would be enough to support the smaller OLED monitor that I plan to mount using it. The build process was almost identical to the heavy-duty version that I just installed, so it didn't take very long to get it assembled and secured to the other side of the desk. The next thing that I did was bring in my second monitor and then repeated the same process, pretty much attaching the backplate for the arm to the VESA mount on the back of the monitor. This time though, I made sure to install it sideways since I plan to use the second monitor in a vertical orientation. By the way, the monitor is a 34-inch MSI MPG with a maximum refresh rate of 240 Hz, which honestly pairs perfectly well with the Odyssey G9. It also features a QD OLED display, which is a brighter, more vibrant upgrade over the more common WOLED panels. After getting the second monitor vertically mounted, I took some time to adjust both displays, making sure the setup was ergonomic and visually balanced across the desk. It looked pretty solid to me, so I moved on to the next thing. Now, in my older setups, I've always used my laptop to power the desk so I could easily take it around with me on the go. This time, I decided to switch things up and go with a Mac Mini instead. I wanted a workspace that was independent of my laptop with a setup that felt more permanent and better optimized for a static environment. I picked up the highest performance model available, hoping that it would handle anything that I throw at it without breaking a sweat. It comes with 2 Thunderbolt 5 ports and an AUX input on the front side, along with 3 more Thunderbolt 5 ports and HDMI ports and a 10G Ethernet port on the back side. I specifically added the 10G ports to maximize the speed of local file transfers between the Mac and my NAS. That's also why I went with the base storage option since most of my heavy files live on the NAS anyway. The Mac Mini only comes in silver, and since I wanted to use it in a vertical orientation, which it also wasn't really designed for, I decided it'd be good to pair it with a custom case. The one I went with is called the Mac Forge from a company called Zira. It's a sleek aluminum case with a design that mimics the Mac Pro, but in a much smaller form factor. It's built specifically for the Mac Mini and comes in a dark and a silver color, although I chose to go with the dark version to better complement the desk setup and help it blend in more seamlessly. Installing the Mac Mini into it was pretty quick and easy. I started by dismantling the case, then placed the Mac into the inner 2-part plastic unit before sliding the whole thing into the outer shell. The final step was adding the top cover, and just like that, it was ready to go. The case has cutouts on the front and back for all the I/O ports and one on the other side for the air vent. I really liked the new look that it gave the Mac Mini, and once it was all done, I placed it on the desk. The next step was connecting all the necessary cables for the devices I plan to use with it. A few months ago, I received some desk accessories from a brand called Elgato, and I knew that they'd be perfect upgrades for my setup. I've bought and used multiple Elgato products in the past, and they've generally been solid in terms of quality. First up was the Stream Deck Plus, a device that's been designed to function as an audio mixer, a studio controller, or a production console. Now, for me, it's going to act as the control center for my desk setup, giving me quick access to actions I use frequently. It features 8 LCD keys, a small horizontal touchscreen strip, and 4 knobs at the bottom. All of these are also fully customizable based on different workflows and use cases. The knobs are interchangeable to create different style options, so I swapped out the stock ones for some gold-colored ones. I think the new look feels more refined and fits my style better. To expand its functionality, I also added a USB hub accessory that was made specifically for the Stream Deck Plus. This add-on gives the device extra I/O ports, turning it essentially into a full-featured USB hub in addition to everything else it already does. Installing the hub was pretty straightforward, and I started by removing the base of the Stream Deck Plus, then connected the hub through the USB-C ports at the top. After that, I reattached the base, which locked the hub tightly in place. The end result was a clean, upgraded unit with even more versatility than before. I placed it right at the center of the desk, just below the super ultra-wide monitor, where I think it fit perfectly well. Next up on the agenda was my mic setup. I decided to upgrade from the LP model of the Elgato Wave mic arm, which had honestly served me fairly well, but came with a few drawbacks that eventually pushed me to look for a better option. Luckily though, Elgato released the Pro model that directly addresses most of the issues that I had with the LP. Building and mounting a new arm to the desk was a quick process, and after that, I ran my XLR cable through the management pathway before hooking it up to a minimal audio interface, also from Shure. I'm replacing it with my longtime Scarlett 2i2 interface, which has been through a lot of my desk setup builds over the years. I figured it was time to retire it for a more compact and modern solution. The MVX2U is shaped like the end of an XLR cable and acts as a bridge between the mic and the computer. One XLR cable connects the mic to the interface, and a USB-C cable connects it directly to the Mac. It provides 48 volts of phantom power to the mic, which is essential for getting the best sound quality and volume out of the Shure SM7B. There's also an AUX input on the back of it for monitoring playback as needed. The Pro version features gas spring suspension, making adjustments much smoother and completely silent. Like the LP, it has a built-in cable management channel, but this time it's located underneath the arm instead of on top, which honestly is better aesthetically speaking. The magnets holding the covers in place are also much stronger, so they stay on more reliably. More importantly, it supports more weight than the LP model, which is a huge plus since my mic is on the heavier side. The next part of the build was adding desktop speakers. Now, with both ultra-wides pretty much taking up most of the desks with, I knew floor stands were the only way to go. That way the desk wouldn't feel crammed and I could keep the setup looking nice and clean. I picked up a pair of 34-inch speaker stands before starting up the build, also in black to match the speakers that I plan to use with it. As usual, I started by unboxing everything and laying the parts out. The stands came in 3 separate pieces that needed to be connected to form the final unit. Once assembled, I placed the speaker on top and moved on to connecting all the cables and wires. The second stand followed the same process and was up and ready to go in no time. After both speakers were positioned, I connected the right speaker to the left and did some light cable management for the devices that I'd set up so far. Now, just like in my previous build, I went with a stereo combo here as well with individual speakers for the left and the right channels. This time though, I upgraded to larger units around 11 inches tall with significantly more power output. At this point, I decided to tidy up some of the cable mess in the bottom left corner of the desk using Secret Labs magnetic cable sheath. It's one of my favorite tools for cable management, especially when working in areas with metal surfaces. While I was down there, I also connected the desk to power and ran an Ethernet cable into one of the 2 Cat6e ports nearby. To wrap things up at the bottom of the desk, I brought in my 5-liter slim step can, which has always been the perfect size for my entire desk setup area. It's super minimal, discreet, and has a soft close feature that I really like. It's one of those little essentials I've carried with me throughout most of my desk setups because it just works. Next, I added a Secret Lab magnetic headphone holder, which is an attachment that was designed specifically for metal surfaces. I installed it on the left side of the desk to hold my Sony headphones, keeping them out of the way but still within arm's reach. After that, I brought in my keyboard and mouse combo, starting with the Keychron Q5HE. It's a high-profile mechanical keyboard with Hall effect magnetic switches designed with gamers in mind. The brand sent me a unit to try out, so I figured this new setup was the perfect place to test it. You can get one in 2 styles, and I went with the black and white version to match the overall desk aesthetic and also to pair well with the mouse. Speaking of which, I brought back the Logitech MX Master 3S, an old favorite that's been my go-to across most of my productivity setups. Honestly, it's been tough to find anything that's better, so I've stuck with this style of mouse throughout. I've used a few different models and colors over the years, but for this build, I went with the light gray version. At this point, I decided to take a moment to evaluate the layout, especially from an ergonomic perspective. Turns out I wasn't fully happy with it, so I decided to make a few changes. First, I replaced the non-heavy duty Secret Lab arm I'd been using for the vertical monitor with a heavy duty model from MSI. The original arm just wasn't cutting it, as I noticed it struggled to keep the monitor from sagging over time. Before installing the new arm, I repositioned the main monitor first. I had originally mounted it slightly to the left and off-center to make both displays appear centered as a pair on the desk. But that layout had me constantly sitting off to the side just to stay centered with the main screen, which honestly was not great for posture and comfort. The MSI arm was built specifically to support heavier monitors, so I expected it to handle the vertical display with no problems at all. As a bonus, it came with built-in RGB lighting. After attaching the backplate to the VESA mount, I locked the monitor onto the arm and angled the screen to face towards the center of the desk. My plan is to use this vertical monitor as a secondary display for non-essential apps or tools I like to keep open throughout the day. I was really happy with how the new monitor setup turned out, so I moved on to cable management to start tidying things up. The first thing I did was center the desk to the wall using a tape measure because, well, yeah, I'm a bit OCD like that. One issue I did run into was the power cable for the vertical monitor. Because of where the input is located, I couldn't tuck it away cleanly. To solve that issue, I picked up a third-party angled power adapter with the same specs, and it worked perfectly to help conceal the cable. I also used some black cable sleeves to group and hide the visibly mismatched wires coming from the left speakers. I did the same for the speaker wires coming from the right as well. I moved on to adding some decor pieces next, starting with the YouTube Silver Play Button awards I received last year for passing 100,000 subscribers on 2 of my channels. Up until now, I hadn't even taken them out of their packaging because, well, it's been so busy for me recently. One was awarded to this channel and the other one was awarded to a second channel that I started to dive deeper into the world of gaming tech. After unboxing both, I moved on to adding items to the shelves, beginning with the gold play button I received for passing 1 million subscribers on my 3rd channel. Now, if you've been following this channel for a while, you've probably heard me mention my interest in fitness and staying active at some point. That's the focus of the 3rd channel, where I mainly post follow-along workout videos filmed in my garage home gym or outdoors. I placed the gold play button at the center with the 2 silver play buttons on both sides of it. From there, I filled out the rest of the shelves with a mix of decor pieces and added a HomePod Mini, which I connected the power at the bottom left corner for smart control throughout my office space. I added a tube lights to the other side of the desk area and placed a nice average-sized artificial plant in front of it. The light helps provide soft and even backlighting, making sure the plant doesn't get lost in the shadows of that corner. Now, I also brought in my old memory foam footrest, which always comes in handy during long work sessions at the desk. It's one of those simple comforts that makes a big difference over time, I'm telling you. My chair is the same one I've had for a little over a year now, originally set up around the same time as a desk. Before adding it back into the new space, I decided to swap out the wheels. A few months ago, a brand called Stelto sent me a set of replacement wheels and I figured this was the perfect time to give them a try. The replacement process was a bit of a challenge as it required a good amount of force to pull out the old wheels and push the new ones in. That said, it didn't take very long once I had the right tool to remove the originals. Right away, the first thing I noticed was how much quieter the new wheels were. On top of that, the new wheels also looked a lot cleaner and more refined than the originals, making them a solid upgrade all around. The final piece I added to my new setup was a walk-in treadmill. I've seen a lot of busy people use these to stay active throughout the day, so I figured why not give it a try as well. This particular model is called the Z1 from a brand called Walking Pad. It's designed specifically for low intensity use cases like walking, just to help increase daily movement. It comes with everything you need to get started, including a remote control for quick and easy operation. You can track your stats through the app or directly on the built-in LED display up top, which can be configured to show speed, distance, time, and calories burned. It's super compact, foldable, and also has a pair of wheels that make it easy to tuck away when it's not in use. With this addition, I can definitely see myself making more use of the stand-in feature of my desk because now I've got the perfect reason to. And just like that, the final piece was in place and the build was complete. Looking at the finished space a few weeks after, I can confidently say I'm really satisfied with how everything turned out. The mix of items from my older setups and the new additions came together seamlessly. The result definitely exceeded my expectations in not just aesthetics, but also in how much my productivity has improved. The 49-inch Super Ultra Wide has always been great for multitasking, but I often found myself needing just a bit more screen space, especially when editing videos. Adding a 34-inch ultra-wide in a vertical orientation is giving me extra much-needed high-quality screen real estate. Overall, I'm really happy with the new space, and it already has me feeling more inspired and motivated to create and get busy. As with anything though, nothing stays the same forever. While I'm loving the new setup right now, I know it'll continue to evolve as new tech comes out and my needs change. I hope you enjoyed watching and maybe even found some inspiration for a setup of your own or a project that you're just doing. I'll catch you in the next one. You already know who it is, man. It's your boy Tommy, and I'm out, y'all.